things in life that I wanted to chase and pursue and go do, and I couldn't because I was locked to my house or in and out of the ER because symptoms kept coming back or things weren't progressing in the correct direction. My best friend, who I started the Vital Choice Project with, Dad, is a chiropractor, does a ton of like naturalistic forms of healthcare, and basically had told us about like some ideas he had of some blood tests that would test different foods and the effects they have on my body, different stretches, different breathing exercises. The number one thing was different forms of nutrition.
Super excited. We have Garrett on the show today because of Michael. Check out his episode. He's with Optimize, Wim Hof, breathing, the whole night. We were just talking about cold plunge before.
Yeah.
You just got married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you feel any different?
Not really. Nope.
No?
Nope. That's the thing everyone asks. They're like, so how's married life? What's the difference? It's like, well, there's really not.
Yeah.
It's not like, there's no real change really. It's just
Okay.
now it's official. Her and I met when we were in 7th grade. We went to the same church together, same youth group.
Aw.
And then we started dating in my senior year of high school. And yeah, the rest was history then.
You just knew, right? It was just an automatic, dude. Good for you, man. That's super cool, and congratulations. And I think that, it's nice if you can find your partner earlier, why not? And you see with so many successful leaders, they find their partner, they have their one, they have their rock, so they could just get to business and follow their passion and do their dreams, which is amazing. So
yeah, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm doing without Sage. So it's a ton of It's a good support system.
I love that.
I love her very much.
Well, shout out to her and for being your rock. We got Jen behind the scenes. What's up, Jen? You back there? So we have lots to talk about today. I want to get into your story. Want to get into some other things. I know that also we'll get into some things as far as who your first boss was. I mean, right now I know that we're in times that are a little kind of like, who knows which way things are going to go. I like to be optimistic as positive as possible.
Yeah.
With this platform, we like to be open and honest and just be 100% transparent. So just Cliff, not everyone out there, everything that we say is subject to, whatever you believe, what we believe. We just want to just put out some conversations and just be transparent and just help other people maybe see different perspectives.
Of course.
I think right now it's like there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of preconceived notions. There's a lot of behind the scenes, how would you say this, alternative modems. There's no modem here. Like for me, this is a passion project. So Liftoff Agent sponsors the show. The team does all the editing. There is no money to be had here. Eventually, we'll figure out monetization and what that looks like. But as of right now, which is Friday, September 12th at 2:09 on a Friday afternoon, it's gorgeous outside. We're just vibing out, bro.
Yeah, this like I said when I got here, this is a really cool area of Phoenix. I'd never been here before. I'm from Wisconsin, so it's the landscape out here doesn't change as much as Wisconsin, where it can go from like rivers or the beach or the super dense forests up north and stuff like that. Where it's a lot more just mountains and stuff, but still like down on this area, I noticed as soon as I turned into like this development areas, way more greenery, forests,
right,
all that kind of stuff. And up in the north area of Phoenix where I'm at, like there isn't that stuff. It's not it's all the mountains are out there. That's where Camelback is and all that stuff. So
I love that.
Yeah, this is a cool area though.
I love that. Yeah, we were from California, so when we got to this house, you look outside, there's all those trees out there, and we're like, what the heck? Like, it isn't like we had no cactuses at our house or even around our house. And like this establishment was built in 96. And so behind us, those are going to be all custom built homes. And it's cool because we have Superstition Mountain here, and you're just an hour up and you get to Deer Creek. And that's where my father-in-law just bought a house next to Payson. Then you're in Payson, and then you go a little bit higher, and then you go to Pine, you go Strawberry, and then you're at 7,000 feet elevation with snow. And very cool. We love this area because of those various things. Plus, you're about 45 minutes away from the lake. You're not too far from here. When I saw boats the first time, I was like, why are there boats?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
Like out in Wisconsin, the part I'm from is right along the lakeshore. So boats, fishing, beach days, that's how we spend our summers.
I love that.
And, out here, I do miss the water a little bit, but I think I know by the Salt River that you're talking about. Okay,
right here.
Yep, yeah.
That's even closer.
Yeah, that's where when we first moved out here, we went and visited that area.
Did you do the water wrap? You have like the tubes. You do the tubing down the Salt River. Have you done that yet?
No, not yet. We want to, but we hiked we like to go on walks and hikes and stuff with our dogs. So
nice.
that's what a lot of the time, if we get outside, that's what we're out doing.
Oh man, I love that. So Wisconsin to Arizona, what brought you here? What was the catalyst and the story behind that?
Yeah. So my fiance, my wife.
You're married now, bro.
It's new. But at the time, I should say, my fiance was she's going to school for occupational therapy, which is cool because we'll talk about health and stuff in the future of this. And
Heck yeah.
She got scholarship to go to GCU, where she's completing her last year there, and that's what drew us out here.
Okay.
I had no idea what else God had in store for me when I moved out here.
I love that.
But yeah, it's been a journey, and yeah, we'll have some fun talking through it, and where it's all gone.
So you basically just followed her out here then?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've when I moved out here, I was DoorDashing for like our paychecks and stuff.
Making some money, do what you have to do.
It was, it worked out. And it was a good way to learn the area quick.
Okay.
I will say I'm glad that I did something like that got me out in the community, out and seeing the area, because when we moved out here, she had lived on campus for a year.
Okay.
But I had never really been out here outside of like Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And then GCU's campus. So Tolleson, Glendale, Mesa, all those areas that I was in was brand new to me.
Wow, that's interesting. I got to say, to get paid to explore, that's not a bad way to do it, man. Yeah. Like, that's awesome. So what was the first thing when you came out here, like, because I could speak to this as far as my perspective, but for your perspective, like, what was the first thing that came when you came out here? How'd you feel, the vibe, the area, like?
It is definitely a big difference.
Okay.
I have my things that I love about it, and then things that obviously I don't like about it.
Of course.
And then obviously I think for me, the thing that I like to be around like my friends and family, and that was something that too, like, still to this day, I'm, the separation or whatever you want to say is something I still deal with. But I enjoy being out here because there's no snow and it doesn't get super cold. When I was in high school, we had school shut down 2 days in a row because it was -40s.
Okay.
It started freezing. So that doesn't happen out here. I loved the last year when we were out here for the whole winter. I really enjoyed, the climate and environment during those months.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's very nice. It was like 60s, 70s. Sometimes it would get up into the 80s, but it was, gave us the opportunity. We hiked Camelback a few times. We had some friends out. We did that with them. Went up to Grand Canyon a few times. Okay. That's very cool. I
still haven't been.
Oh, you haven't?
Living here 5 years now.
Wow. I mean, the Grand Canyon, man, like, going up there, and you get over the rim and you walk up to the rim is one of those like mind pop moments where it's just like, oh my gosh, like it's something I'd never. The first time I saw it was like you see pictures and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't get the opportunity until you actually see it to really like take in just like what it is, and it's super cool. So you gotta get up there.
I think one thing that came out for me coming out here 5 years ago, we came from during COVID, and I was in California.
Yeah.
And from California, it was really heavy during this time when there was like the vax, and then you had to get the vax to go inside the restaurants and all the things, and we just felt really just constricted. And the thing that came out for me was I came here, I felt free.
Yeah.
I felt free. I felt more open. I felt also a lighter type of vibe. I felt like it was just heavy energy out there compared to being out here. I felt a little bit more of like a lighter type of vibe.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Definitely pick up on that.
Did you pick up on that?
It's the feeling of like freedom or whatever. Yeah. Is very, I would say very present to me. It could be because this was the first place I lived without living with my parents. So that could be something.
Touché. But me too.
It definitely was like, it was very fun to just get to explore something new, get to experience new things, and be a part of a completely different culture. I'm from a fishing village with 11,000 people in a county with only 70,000 people. And I move out here, and the Maricopa County has almost as many people as the entire state of Wisconsin does.
Wow.
So I think Wisconsin has like 5.2 million, and Maricopa has like 4.8 million or something.
Holy cow.
So it just puts like in perspective of major differences where we leave city limits and driveways are a mile apart, or people have here they have like still have yards and stuff, but out back in Wisconsin, for example, like my grandparents growing up, it was cornfields and rodeo grounds and hunting land, that kind of stuff. So it's a very different culture wise, but something I did notice that connected with very quickly was the beliefs, especially with me and my wife's faith, was very similar. With the church that we ended up finding is Generation Church in Mesa.
Okay.
And it ended up being very similar to the church that we attended back in Wisconsin.
Wow.
So that was a very cool thing to keep that present and that constant in our, our time that it took to grow into living out here. So
dude.
it was cool.
I love that for you, man. That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of different pockets out here that you could check out and see, and so you can get those places like you're used to back home. Even in like Central Phoenix, I've found some really cool places that remind me back in like say Oakland, California, or San Francisco. So it's very diverse. I also think too, it's just like you said, it's just new and fresh perspective and beginning, which is really cool when you live somewhere your whole life. And if you're living somewhere your whole life right now, like go try something new, go explore the world a little bit. It's really cool when you get different perspectives. So very grateful for that. And so I know now you're at a place where, I mean, man, and we'll get to how you got to where I'm going to say here in a second from the perspective of rubbing shoulders with shout out Certified Health Nut. He was on the podcast. You got to check that guy out. Yeah, let's go. Troy Casey, he's definitely a nut. He was on our show. Watch his episode. To Mike Tyson, to some celebrities, JFK, even to Charlie. God bless, rest his soul. You've been around some really cool people. And until we get, I want to kind of lead them up until you get into, you just had a big event, before you got married, so what happened? I heard one of your stories from the perspective of something that you were talking about. It's like, when you all you want to do is just feel better or feel good, and your one thing on your mind is just like, and you said it better than me, that the actual quote.
It was the quote. When we were in the kitchen before
not in the kitchen. It was on social. You said it on stage at one of your events. It might have been the most recent event.
Yes. Yeah. So the I think I know what you're talking about. It's my favorite quote. It relates heavily to my life. It's from who's our HHS secretary now, RFK, and his quote is, "A sick person has 1,000 wishes." Or a healthy person has 1,000 wishes. A sick person has one, and that wish is to get better.
Amen.
And I lived that wish. Like that was kind of like that was what got me into this whole the world that I'm working in and the people that I'm working with. And it's basically, I'll just start from the beginning kind of thing. When I was 6 years old, I was involved in a dog attack. I had a good chunk of my face was lacerated, and I have some scarring visibly here still, and here my nose is a little crooked, as you can probably tell. And luckily I didn't have any damage to my eyes or anything like that, but I had some damage to my sense of smell, which I still deal with a little bit, but it's like, it's been almost, what is it now, like 15 years. So it's the normal, right?
Yeah.
But as many people that might watch this are just in the United States now have had their, eyes open to things in the past and with recent events. The United States health system, when you go through any surgery or procedures or anything, the number one thing that they just love to throw on you is antibiotics. And, being in an attack that was a dog, they have like rabies and all these other things.
Yeah.
They want to test you for and make sure that you're protected from and that sort of thing. And so, they did the reconstruction surgery to put my face back together. And then I had 5 other surgeries after that, spanning over 6 years.
Wow.
That was like sinus surgery, saliva gland, some nasal stuff, scar tissue removal that was just like in my jaw and stuff. And at that time you're thinking, okay, well the antibiotics are helping. I'm not getting sick. I'm not getting infections through the healing process.
Yeah.
But then when I turned 20, it was in January of 2023, and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and which for people that may not know, it's an inflammatory bowel disease.
Yep.
And lives in the mucosal wall of your colon. And basically what it is your body starts to basically break itself down, and by trying to heal inflammation. Yeah. So went through that and ended up getting into clinical remission about 6 months later. And it was, at the beginning, it was, they put me on prednisone and I ended up getting a heart rate of 124 beats per minute. And, I was 20 years old at the time. That's scary. Yeah. To have, and, these side effects of some of the things that, our healthcare system puts into our bodies may not have the studies we need, may not have the all the information we want. That's why I love RFK stuff too, about we need to stick to gold standard science. We need to just stick to exactly what is going to be best for us as a human populace. And that was one of the things that I had to learn about. And so through the process, I wasn't getting better. I was on prednisone, mesalamine, and another one that I'm blanking on. They basically, these medications weren't working.
Yeah.
And we wanted to just get me back to normal. Like the quote says, my one wish during this time was, how do I get back to just being a 20-year-old kid that's going to college? And that was about after the diagnosis, when I ended up getting engaged and stuff like that. So it was like things in life that I wanted to chase and pursue and go do. And I couldn't, because I was like kind of locked to my house or in and out of the ER because symptoms kept coming back or things weren't progressing in the correct direction. So my best friend, who I started the Vital Choice Project with, his dad is a chiropractor, does a ton of like naturalistic forms of healthcare.
Yeah.
And basically had told us about like some ideas he had of, we could try some blood tests that would test different foods and the effects they have on my body, different stretches, different breathing exercises. The number one thing was different forms of nutrition.
Okay.
And so what I ended up doing after, we decided we're going to get off the mesalamine, get off the prednisone, all these things. And to this day, I've, decreased the dosage of the mesalamine, cut it in half from where I started, which is just incredible.
Let's go.
And I've been in clinical remission now, or it was a year this past, or 2 years this past July, which is awesome.
Wow, congratulations.
So the thing that worked though was just this nutritional change in my life, my family's life, and it was a lot of discipline. It was self-discipline, and it was just, to some people you might call me crazy or things like that for what I had to do, but it worked. And that's what I want to promote to other people that might have chronic illnesses and things like that. I drink cabbage juice that we juiced every morning for 28 days, and it gets disgusting after a while. I won't lie. We started out with like a food journal where I was doing cabbage juice, unseasoned chicken, and unseasoned rice, basmati rice, just because it had a little bit better nutrients in it than per se just plain white rice. So going through that, slowly introducing things back into my diet. I ended up losing almost 80 pounds through this process. I healed my my colon is, to this day, there's no inflammatory markers. When they went in and did like my 6-month checkup, they obviously do a colonoscopy because they want to see if from the time that you were diagnosed to where you are now, if there's been any signs of healing or even remission in that case. With me, they got in, they did the procedure, and they come out and tell my mom that the doctor basically told my mom that if I were to have come in being told they need to diagnose me with something, he wouldn't have been able to because there was no inflammation, even on a microscopic level. So we know natural health works. We know that nutrients works. And it's just, for whatever reason, here in the United States especially, that side and mindset has been demonized due to things like the Flexner Report and other rhetorics around natural health. And that's why I'm so passionate about the things that I'm doing. And without going through these couple life experiences, it wouldn't have led me on the path that ended up happening when I moved out here. And we obviously have time to get into all that, so I don't know. We have plenty.
We have plenty. No, you're good. You're good. We have plenty of time. And first and foremost, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
To be young and want to have fun and not want to have to be subject to all these things is one thing. But then also, for me, and that's why I made the disclaimer at the beginning of the episode too, because I like that you're giving them specifically a case study, because you are the example that now have gone through this, and I'm also the example. I was diagnosed with colitis as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
In my 20s. I don't really talk about this a lot. This is before meeting my wife and having my beautiful daughter. And even before, like, a lot of, I didn't even take a lot of foods out. I just went through, a lot of it was like stress related stuff. And I lost a lot of weight too, and blood in my stool, and did a colonoscopy and did a couple different colonoscopies. And so it's in remission. It's gone. I haven't had any issues for quite a while now. And so we're two case studies here. It's kind of funny. I think this is maybe why Michael wanted us to connect as well. And it's amazing. It's amazing to know that you can actually get through something that when you speak to a physician, they say, well, this is something you have to take, medication for the rest of your life, something you'll have for the rest of your life. And to be diagnosed with something for your entire life, to be on medication, is like, whoa, hold on, what? And so congratulations on your end, and it's okay and it's possible out there. And we're going to go deeper into this conversation, because if you do have colitis and you are dealing with issues, and you're on medications, what have you, maybe by the time we end the episode, they can be able to reach out to you, also, your organization, and there's light at the end of the tunnel for all of you. So I just wanted to say that side note really quick, because I can relate to you.
That's so cool. I don't meet a lot of people with it. I believe the statistics, and someone probably fact check me. I believe they're like 1 in 200,000, if I'm not mistaken, for ulcerative colitis. I know it's a very rare form of chronic disease.
Yeah.
But like you said, well, once they get it and they finally diagnose you with something, they're like, you will be medicated the rest of your life. And I'm like, I don't want to be on a steroid that's causing a bunch of problems the rest of my life. So no, thankfully, discipline and researching and doing it myself, I'm not on it anymore, and I haven't had to do anything with prednisone and since the time I decided to get off it.
Dude, that's huge. Yeah, I think a big thing is individuals don't understand, and for me, I'm someone like that. I love personal development, and so this is a passion project to go deeper, to have these type of conversations, to be able to just shine light to anyone out there that maybe is going through something like this. And I've learned really quick that, like, I've from the smoking of the weed or drinking the alcohol or whatever, like really, like, that stuff's all gone, and getting to a point where it's just like, what am I eating, and just being intentional with it. So like, I track all my calories. I have my Fitness Pal, from carbs, fat, protein to 1900 calories a day, and really looking at the longevity factor. Like, I want to be someone who can live 100, 120 plus years and completely change the norm, if you will, no pun intended, and give people something to think about outside of maybe what they've been traditionally doing. And we actually had an individual on who was talking about, shout out Audrey, she was talking about just looking at the labels and just making sure whatever's in the labels, like, you can read and understand, because if you can't, maybe you shouldn't eat it. And I'm seeing a huge push for one ingredients. People want to have one ingredients now, because I feel like it's this overcomplication with these processed foods. And I'm even having this, I might even get a shout out as a little protein yogurt drink, but still I read it and I'm like, okay, well, it's, and then you have to justify, is it really that bad? How's it showing up for me? Because when you're on the go and you want to get a certain amount of protein in, you're doing the protein shakes, you're doing things that are quick and fast and easy because you're maybe not in food prep, or have that plain rice with chicken.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Something like that. But now I want to keep going into your story to the project that you put together and what you've done with it and how you gotten to the point where you're at now. So I want you to continue. I just wanted to give a couple of those side notes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had no idea about that with your story. And that's, like I said, super encouraging, and should be encouraging for anyone that's watching with a chronic illness, that
Amen.
There is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
It's very possible to get out of it. You just have to get out of the mindset of what maybe the norm is saying, like, we have to be able to get around the facts that maybe the facts aren't accurate in some cases, and the like, doing business as usual with some of these illnesses might not be the best option for society.
Correct. And I think the big thing too is that I took from when I had it was, you can't allow someone else to dictate the outcome of your inevitable future. Like, either you take the action that you're supposed to take and actually look in the mirror, because a lot of people out there, and it could be you watching this episode, they don't want to actually self-reflect. And when you don't self-reflect and you think that the doctor or physician or that someone outside of you is going to tell you exactly how to fix you, that's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too, to build off of that before we continue, is the chronic illness world right now, everyone's trying to put on the same size shoe, and we are all different people. Everyone's body reacts to things differently. Some people might gain weight super fast. Some people might metabolize things really quickly. Some people might have a ton of energy. And that's something that allopathic medicine doesn't take into consideration a lot of the time. And it's like, oh, you have ulcerative colitis. Here's Sky Rizzy on the TV. go tell your doctor about it because it's probably going to work for you because it worked for this guy. But that's not the case in a lot of this stuff is no one's looking at the person as a whole. What things might be, when the body metabolizes that substance, is it giving that person inflammation or not? Because it's going to be different between everyone.
Yes.
That's something that we have to, break the current standards away from.
Yes.
Everyone is different. We're all people.
Yes.
That was what makes us, the melting pot of the world as the United States. And what makes us such a cool experiment.
Heck yeah.
And we have to treat it as that. We have to treat it that we're all different, all come from different walks of life, different cultures, and that sort of thing. And it goes the same for medicine.
Amen, dude. Well said. I love that. Let's continue on your story, dude. I'm really curious about how you got to the point of coming up with this amazing organization to help individuals out there.
Yeah. So, like I said, when we first moved out here, was doing DoorDash. I really honestly wasn't looking for a job. I was enjoying the DoorDashing. I would put on a podcast or if the Brewers were playing it, play it through the car and just, you sit there and deliver orders.
That's cool. You're at least enjoying life, doing what you're doing. That's great.
Picking my own hours, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So, fast forward, we were out here for about 2 weeks. We had been living here, and both me and my wife have been, we've been following the Turning Point world for a very long time. I had been pretty involved in it throughout high school and just following it. And I thought it was this really cool idea of empowering my generation, which had been pushed away from like traditional values to allow traditional values back into the picture.
I love it.
And that was something I connected with a lot growing up. And basically we knew Turning Point was headquartered and stationed out here, was like, this was their big stomping ground, right?
Yeah. So
we saw a thing on Twitter that was saying like it was just a house meetup, and we thought it was a meetup for like kids that had just moved here, college age kids, to just go at the very first thing we thought it was go and hang out, and it would be like a Christian meetup kind of thing.
Okay.
So we went out. It did not end up being that. It ended up being a like private rally that somehow I can't even remember which one of us signed it up. It was me or my wife, and we went out there. It's this private residence. We walk in. People are wearing suits. People wearing dresses. There's a guy that we then learned was running for the state or like the city council.
Wow.
And was like presenting his pitch and doing his policies and all that stuff in this living room. We were kind of like, okay, this isn't what I was expecting at all. But we ended up meeting another kid there that went to GCU, and that basically led us to just talking in a group.
Okay.
Where I met one of my best friends since then is Jacob Chacon, who was a field representative for Turning Point at the time.
Wow.
And he basically was like, well, there's this rally we're going to do at a church, and they might get JD Vance there, and we don't really know, but if you want to volunteer, let me know. Like, we'd love for you to come out here and, just hang out.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what that would kind of set off.
Okay.
So went, volunteered. I ended up signing up like 331 people out of the line.
Wow.
To sign up for the called TPA coalitions.
Okay.
And their field manager and field director brought me in and made me like part of the team, and they ended up giving me an internship. So stop the door dashing, obviously.
Yeah. I got more important things to do.
This was kind of like, it was kind of one of those, what am I going to do with my life moments? I was going to school for pre-law at GCU. I was doing history, and I was doing history and business management because I wanted to go to law school and do corporate law.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, that was my escape. This was the backup plan, Yeah. And I never really was someone that loved school or thought it was the answer to, careers and all that kind of stuff. But basically, ended up working at Turning Point for a while throughout the election, after the election, ended up moving up into a field representative role.
Yeah.
But something that was very cool about Turning Point, and I had never worked in a setting like that before, but they would put you in positions where you can succeed. They would put you in positions where you are surrounded by people that may or may not, depending on how you use that connection, bring you to something cooler. Wow. And in October, they ended up doing a rally with RFK, which that was my, like, that's who we were following, right? Like, the chronic illness conversation that he was bringing to the forefront and finally giving national coverage of resonated very personally with me, as you can imagine.
Yeah, of course.
And just hearing him talk about like all these things, and then me being able to say, oh my gosh, like he's talking about how we fix problems that I went through, So
Yeah.
it's, you connect to people that way. Anyway, he came to Phoenix, and he spoke on stage with Charlie Kirk and Callie Means. And I wanted to ask, they opened up the floor, if you've ever been to their events, for people in the audience to come up and ask questions.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a no brainer. I want to go ask RFK a question.
Heck yeah.
And, basically the question that I asked was, there's all this conversation about preventing chronic disease and preventing people from getting sick, but what are we going to do for the millions of us that have already been diagnosed and don't know there's other options?
Okay.
And so they dove into it, and Callie Means ended up answering a majority of the question, and it was a great answer. And he dove into some of his book, which is called Good Energy, which is kind of it's a book that talks about what, similar to like what I did with metabolic health and resetting my gut microbiome and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And his whole spiel is that like, we can do this. We just have to want to find that information, and then the self-discipline of actually following through with it.
Yes, for sure.
So long story short, after the event, leaving in the parking lot, Callie was out there, and I went up and introduced myself to him and just said like, thank you for answering my question, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where my turning point per se.
Wow.
is I met Callie, and
lift off moment.
Lift off moment, right? Yeah, he basically. I got connected with him, got his contact info, and then stayed trying to bring like this Maha movement to as many people that went through similar things as I did by using the like either connections or the influence, or everyone want to say that me and the field team had at Turning Point. So we had this idea where we launched this coalition. We added a new coalition after the election called the Healthy Americans Coalition.
I love this.
And it was basically just to bring people together to get serious about their health, whether they wanted to go get physically fit, diet, naturalistic, whatever it was that you wanted to do to become a healthier, stronger person. These people got connected in that coalition.
Yeah.
And so we launched it, and we did it. We put together, me and some of the field reps, shout out to Jacob and Eric, who helped a ton with that, and Amy for giving us, the freedom at work to kind of put something together.
Yeah.
And we got to basically host this event that we got almost 300 people out to in Scottsdale.
Wow.
Where we did a panel with Callie came out for us, and Steve Nagel, who's a chiropractor and also an RNC committeeman, Leslie Manukian, who's made a bunch of films on vaccines and stuff like that, and just kind of helped progress that conversation. And then my good friend Huey Johnson, was a national boxing champ, and a lot of it was due to how he was very serious about his health, very serious about nutrition, and he stayed that way even though he's been out of boxing for a while. And we did this panel where we just basically let the audience ask questions about how they can improve their physical health, and that's something that I think in today's America is difficult for middle grounded people or your common person, is that they don't get that chance to meet with the people that have influence.
Yeah.
Right now we're in this world of influencer clout and money, of course, which has been throughout all time, but the influencer and the clout levels and all that kind of stuff is something that has really pushed has really divided the top people with your common, your average Joe.
Oh yeah.
And that was something really cool about this event that we put together was we got to fill this room up with your everyday person who got to ask the guy that was advising the president of the United States on health what they can do for health and what they're doing at the national level. So you had this cool discourse where you had people talking about what they're doing in actual government, as well as people, what they're doing in the grassroots. And that's something that we need more of if we're going to truly, I believe, fix the turmoils and things that we're going through. Yeah. And, working at Turning Point, I got to work with Charlie 6 times throughout my time there, and he was a very cool person. He was very quiet when you met him in person. Okay. Which you might think is odd because you see him on TikTok debating people and having these long drawn out conversations.
Always have an opinion. Always coming back with with an amazing debate. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was at least the times I was around him was quiet. The first conversation I ever had with him was about where the bathroom was because I got to bring him through. I got to bring him through back to do a Super Chase event, and his first question, we shook my hand and goes, "Where's the restrooms at before I talk?" And we didn't have it mapped out well, and we opened up the door for him, and they announced him to come on stage. So the bathroom was like around the stage, And so he spoke. Obviously, there was no issues at all. He was such a cool person in those types of situations.
Yeah.
And obviously, the rest was kind of history there. I got to when I ended up leaving Turning Point to go work and do more stuff closer to Maha with a different organization that's now Maha Action. They huge shout out to Tyler Boyer, who's really close with Charlie, was best friends with him. They let it. They had it set up for me I got to go back to Wisconsin because they were doing an event there, and they said, we're super thankful for the things that I was able to help them with, and I'm eternally grateful to the opportunities they gave me, and they let me bring my parents and then two of my friends, and my little sister down to get pictures with Charlie and meet him, and and that was the last time then that I ever got to talk to him in person or be around him. But people need to know that he was a very good human. He was a good soul. He always meant to do good, and he wants us to keep talking. Wants conversation like this to keep happening. He wants people to continue to, live out his legacy of it. It doesn't matter if how angry you get or what you do, as long as you don't act in violence and you continue to come back to the debate stage. That's where we need to keep things, and that's what Charlie did, and that's what I want people to continue to do. And I'm forever grateful for the opportunities that Charlie, his team, and his organization gave me, because without them, I never would have dropped out of college and pursued the route of the career path that I'm doing. So huge shout out to those guys. And
wow. Beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. And in light of that, I think that'd be good just to take a second in silence just to just honor his life and and the things that he did do. I think that with the light of social media and the narrative can be spun in so many different ways, to speak to someone who has personal involvement with him, to understand who he was as a person and how kind he was and quiet he was, and sound like he was an introvert more than an extrovert.
Yeah, in some ways, like I would say he was. I'll just share this really quickly. The funniest story I have is when it was the day after the election and we were still running data for the Senate race here because it hadn't been called yet.
Yeah.
And Charlie comes in the office wearing flip-flops, shorts, and a hoodie, and walks, he was always working. So he comes over. How we looking? What's the data look like? He was talking to one of my friends, Matthew, at the time, and, we just got to observe him. And speed walks past Tyler, goes, "Are you coming on the show? You should come on the show. Let's go." And they went and did the morning show, the morning portion of Charlie Kirk show. So, it was just cool to be around that. And, it was a very cool experience that I will never forget.
Dude, that is awesome, man. And that's where I think that, to have someone, and I'm very grateful for you to be here today on the show, and thank you so much for this catalyst being here is Michael. And it's crazy when you're around good people, how good people connect other good people. And to just hear just cool, light stories about who he was and just his impact for you, because it shows how true leaders have impact from the perspective of the ripple effect, right? Yeah. One person can do something that can then be the catalyst for something else. And then the catalyst, it's like that domino effect.
Yep.
You got one domino and then they all go out and go down. And so I think, just keeping it real and keeping it light, which I appreciate, a cool story. So that way, our viewers and listeners can maybe get just for a second, a different perspective. And it's amazing because this is carrying his legacy on.
Yeah.
And it's up to us now.
Yeah, it is. It's us to continue the conversation. It's up to us to continue to, remind people that the things that we get to do in our everyday lives is because we're United States citizens. We have the most amazing document maybe ever written is the United States Constitution. And the First Amendment allows us to be individual people with our own individual beliefs, individual divine power, and allows us to truly be who we are meant to be. We're allowed to say the things we want to say, believe the things we want to say, get the jobs we want to do. Surround ourselves with the people we want to surround ourselves with. Yep. And, there's not a lot of other countries in the world. There's no other country in the world with the same, as in depth as the First Amendment. There's other countries in the world similar, but here, I think, at the end of the day, Charlie's whole message was to remind people that the United States is the greatest country and we have to continue to fight for it. Otherwise, there's nowhere else left to go.
Amen. I love that. And in light of that, let's take a second of silence just to honor Charlie's life with us. And in light of Charlie, I want to debate for a second.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. You said something a little earlier that brought to my attention from the perspective that you had individuals that advise the president from the perspective of health, right? And even people in Congress or people like in the government, right? And I like to look at it like if you're going to be a leader, you must lead by example. So our sponsor is Liftoff Agent, and I take the time to meet every single one of our team members for 30 minutes. And I go deeper in the process of they have a vision board. They understand that the customer's goals. We do real estate marketing positioning for real estate professionals. And Jen helps out with the sales department. Just had an amazing event yesterday. Best one for the history books. That's for another story. And so with that light, I like to not be behind the desk. You saw the picture where they point. That guy's like pointing, he's being a dictator instead of having the rope in the front and he's always pulling. Well, I like to be the guy in the front pulling the rope and lead by example. And my whole thing is if the government has their own internal house of representatives that actually advise them on health, why aren't we doing that from the perspective of the system that our kids and our children are a part of to educate them so they can be more aware of what's going on, even from the perspective of even our doctors. Our doctors only to a certain point outside of medication maybe being the first thing that they advise. Why is it that the nutrition and the diet and all of that being, because you would think that if we're supposed to be the superpower of the world, why aren't we setting up the American citizens for the best possible outcome for health, longevity, and success instead of the contrary?
Yeah, and I don't know if I can debate it because I agree with it.
All right. So
that's part of the reason why I like doing the work that I'm doing within this, like the Maha space or whatever you want to call it, that movement. And I think it's because the people like us are finally waking up and we might be woken up longer than other people about this stuff, but the country isn't making us the healthiest we can be. They're not putting up barriers between. Up until recently, we have the government allowing petroleum to be used to make our food look more enticing through colors. Like, that's just the most wild thing to me. And here in Arizona, they've now, like you mentioned, children and the next generation.
Yeah.
Here in Arizona, they have signed a law where they're removing the petroleum food dyes from all public school lunches.
Let's go.
And it's the first state in the country to do it.
Wow.
So it's, I think that there are people waking up to it. We've seen a couple things through this current administration, like the Maha the Maha Commission at the White House, which is like they're redoing tests on vaccines, they're redoing tests on chemicals that are in food, they're changing certain parts of clinical trials around. We just saw like the stuff happen with pharmaceutical advertising on TV where they have to announce through an executive order, they have to announce all the side effects, not just the prominent ones or, above a certain level or the ones that you can read the fastest without people catching, so I don't know how much I can debate on that, but because I agree that and that's why I think right now we're in that pivotal moment where we do have someone in charge of the HHS that's willing to ask these questions. He is willing to die on that hill of things aren't right and we need to change it. And I mean, the last almost year now, 9 months with this administration, we've had probably the most effective HHS, I would say, in my lifetime, because they are going out asking questions. We are seeing laws put in place to remove bad chemicals that do bad things. And I think that's where we need to continue to push it. And you mentioned the thing about like nutrition and diet and stuff, and doctors might be the first thing they go to is prescription medication or surgery. And that system is called the allopathic system, which is what the American healthcare system is. And that kind of goes off the Flexner report, which I don't know how familiar you are with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Flexner report, basically, not remembering when it came out, basically it was a study that changed the American medical system and healthcare system that pushed the naturopathic, holistic, functional medicine to the side and brought pharmaceutical medicine to the front.
Got it.
And that is the reason why here in the United States, the first thing they usually do is, what can we drug you up with, or what organ can we remove? That's where you go to the ER. Especially in my case, it was they prescribed stuff for me right away before they even had a diagnosis. They thought I had pancreatitis at first, which I didn't, but they still treated as if. So, that becomes the question too in the whole conversation around medical malpractice and where does that actually lie in the charts of leading causes of death and that sort of stuff, which is a much more difficult conversation.
Yeah.
But basically the Flexner report, when that was introduced, it pushed all of the holistic sides and natural sides of medicine healing out of the spotlight and out of the actual system. So that's why when you go to a chiropractor, your insurance company might not cover it. That's why when you go to a nutritionist, your insurance company might not cover it. Things like that.
Yeah.
Because they want you going through the allopathic route. And saying the quiet part, or not the saying the loud part, I should say, because it is the big problem, is the allopathic system makes a lot of money. And as we get sicker as a nation, our health continues to go down. And a lot of that comes off of that profit is coming from the allopathic model. You're not making money by telling somebody, take me for example, the doctors did not make money off of me making my own cabbage juice in my dining room.
No.
So that's where it, as villainous as it may seem, it's true. Like,
it is.
It's sad where people, like we were talking before the show, ice baths. Lots of people are like, you could do that for 3 minutes? How could you? Like, that's so weird. Well, it has good effects on you, and good effects mentally, good effects healing.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's good for the mind to be in a situation of fight or flight for a long period of time and push through it mentally on your own.
Yes.
Because that's what happens. Like we were saying before, is you just got to get in.
Yes.
You go and shout out to Michael at Optimize, went there with Troy, and his team's great. And trying to get my wife to go do it with me. I want her to do the 37-degree one, not the 55-degree one, just because.
Maybe Jen too back there.
Yeah. And the difference between those two temperatures really isn't that much when you're sitting in it.
Yeah.
But it's like, once you get in and you submerge yourself, and then it's all down to breathing.
Yep.
And it's crazy how much, like, people are going to be like, you can't fix things with breathing. Yeah, you can, because you can completely turn off your fight or flight by breathing.
Yes.
Like, after a while, you can basically, by focusing on your breathing in an ice bath, you could sit there for way longer than you think you can.
Oh, yeah.
And it might hurt at first. It might be difficult, but it's the situation of where you're making yourself mentally stronger while also healing your body, because it's good to sometimes be cold. And there's like people that would say, well, it's not good to be cold. That's why you shake and shiver and that sort of stuff. But it's also, then why do, when people get into accidents or comas or things like that, do they lower the person's body temperature to allow healing to improve? Like there's different sciences behind things that the allopathic world might say, ice baths are weird. But then when you get in a car accident, you're in a coma, and they cool your body down to allow your body to heal better, there's alignments like that.
That's smart. I didn't even put that together. That's actually super smart. And I like the thought process of like just being more aware of how they do have best practices and techniques to help your body heal better with it being dropped in temperature. And I love how you're saying like the mental mindset and how long you could stay, and then getting past that certain point. And it's interesting because like once you start to eat healthy and you're more aware and you are being intentional, like how much more energy you have, how much clearer you could focus when you're on medication or eating the fast foods. It's like the hormones and the imbalances, and then you feel tired, and sometimes you find you feel good, and it's just like it's not good for you. Yeah, no, it's not good at all. Right now, my wife and I are trying to like ease out the honeymoon. We broke every rule in our in our diet book. There was we were having ice cream. We could not find restaurants in Hawaii that didn't use like seed oils. That was a pain. So my wife loves French fries. So, of course, you can't avoid it. It's the honeymoon. It happens once in your life. Yeah. So now, though, we're trying to, we're doing just soup right now. Okay. And I want to touch, too, on, just when I was going through my flare-up and getting out of it, I would not have been able to do it without my wife. She understands nutrition and all that really well. But the coolest part is she knows how to cook and bake and all that stuff very, very well. And so eating naturally, in a way, I'd say is easier for someone like me, where I'm in a situation where I don't necessarily, even have to understand what it is, because
my wife took nutrition and grew up around it, cooking from a very young age.
Yes.
So she knows what it's like to go out to a garden, grab the right vegetable, prepare it, and put it in a soup or in a
Yes.
just to use it using the earth, and which is something too we need to get back to. We need to understand the earth is our friend.
Yeah.
And we need to, I believe firmly in one of the pillars of, my organization, the Vital Choice Project, is that we believe God has already created everything we need to be a healthy society.
Yes.
So why should we be doing something that was created in a lab or created as machinery or things like that? And in some cases, like one of the other things that we touch on heavily is there needs to be a healthy handshake between allopathic and naturopathic medicine, because without the allopathic advances in the United States, we would have, like, right now, I would say to a certain extent,
Yeah.
instant injuries or like injuries that would kill you, we've become very good at healing them. Like
Yes.
you can get in a car accident and lose a limb and survive. You can lose lots of amounts of blood very quickly and survive. Take my dog attack, for example. Without the modern modalities of surgery, they wouldn't have been able to put attach my skin back to my muscles, because that's what it was. That's when that's where it was ripped from.
Yeah.
So it's like, we can't from our standpoint as as naturalistic healers, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we try to rely on the natural. We can't villainize the other side, because then it's just like the conversation around with Charlie. You can't villainize the other side, and that's what it'll lead to problems, because we saw Charlie being villainized, and it leads to rhetoric, and people are crazy, and things happen. And that's the stance of where if we make allopathic look terrible and bad, then people are going to start moving away from it in droves. And then when they do get hit by a car and they go, no, I want to do this. It's like, well, sir, you're bleeding out. Like, obviously in that situation, they won't be
set you up.
Yeah. Like they won't be able to have that if you're bleeding out, right? Like you're not going to be alert to say that.
Yeah.
But it's that sort of thing where if we villainize something and it becomes useful, debate is useful, allopathic medicine is useful, but we need to restrain on how much authority allopathic medicine has and reintroduce naturopathic medicine. And that's what we do with the Vital Choice Project. Is here in the United States, future doctors do not get nutritional training. They don't get like what it means to diet, what it means to naturalistically heal something.
Yeah.
And they aren't even taught those modalities. One of my good friends, Dr. Joel Gator, who's written a couple books on vaccines, and he's helped with the Vital Choice Project a bit, and he spoke at some of our events. Something that he has told me is that they don't, when he went through med school and all that stuff, and he's a physician, they didn't touch on nutrition. They didn't touch on the things that he's now diving into and learning about. And that's where I think the problem lies. And that's where our biggest saying that we tell college kids when we're interacting with these pre-med students or these pre-healthcare students, because our clubs and chapters are for any student. Doesn't matter if you're, it doesn't matter if you're a marketing student or going to pre-med. We want everyone to be healthy. But our main target is to interact with those kids that are going to be pre-med, going to go be an athletic trainer and understand, or anything in between there that's medical based. Naturalistic modalities do exist, and it's best to learn them in their undergrads programs, because there may not be as much of an agenda in the undergrad where they have an elective called nutrition. Is it teaching the right nutrition? We can talk about that too. But like the system, once they get to their graduate school, to med school, it is surgery and drugs. There's no longer any conversation of nutrition. And if we can instill these students with the values and the understanding of nutrition, we will see a new wave of doctors and the kind of doctors that we actually need.
I do. I love that. And it's so true. I mean, kumbaya, my Lord. I mean, come on, man. Like, let's come together and help each other and work together and know kind of like your place. Like, it's just like, your body as an organism, right? Everything has its place, the heart to pump, and then the skin to protect the organs, and then the bones to make sure that you could stand upright with the muscles that attach. I mean, everyone or everything has a place. And it's just like, if we could just work together, I love that. So you're planting these seeds now within your organization. And so how do you see, I mean, all right, let's go a little bit deeper with this, because do you see any conflict of interest or any kind of pushback from the perspective of, like, if they're saying it's surgery and medication, but then you're saying now there needs to be a blend of nutrition and there needs to be a healthy handshake? Like, where does the line get drawn? Or where do they say, you know what, we really can't, because our the powers of be says we're not allowed to.
That's a really good question. That's why I think it's so important. The work we're doing is, I feel like if we do it ourselves, there isn't a limit and there isn't guidelines that we have to follow. For example, not to keep relating things back to Turning Point, but Turning Point had such a, big
good, dude.
influence on me. One of the things that they did, their model, they went to college campuses, interacted with students, and allowed them a voice from the alternative of what maybe the campus was prioritizing or giving more of a microphone to.
Interesting.
It's the same concept that we want to do with the Vital Choice Project and our chapters and these nexuses that we're creating on college campuses. Is we want these students that are going into pre-med or going into whatever health care profession they're going into.
Yeah.
We want them to understand that they can become as much of a naturalistic healer as they want to be. The problem is they don't have a starting point. There's no one on the college campuses in many cases saying, oh, you're going to go become a physician. Well, are you going to prescribe the whole time you're a doctor and finish vaccine schedules? Or are you going to maybe listen to one of our speakers or join one of our chapters where we're going to dive? We have students that we're gearing up for 2 events at the end of this month, one at Texas State University, one at Davidson College. And those students there are willing to ask these questions, but they don't necessarily know where to start or where to begin. And that's the idea with, like you said, planting seeds. We come in. I'm not a medical expert, healthcare expert at all. I was a business student.
Yeah.
And all the health that I've learned is just the stuff I've done myself.
Yeah.
Not an expert at all, but that's why we bring in doctors for them to talk to. That's why we bring in people that have lived this natural life as examples, and they can understand that, okay, if a child is coming in and the parents want to understand why their child may be obese, instead of giving them a GLP-1, we can tell the parent, now there's a little bit more discipline here, but let's try diet. Let's try let's try self-disciplining ourselves and maybe being out in nature more, maybe grounding ourselves a little bit differently to the foods we're eating. And that's the problem, is the other mindset as well, to your point before, where, people see an ingredient list and they can't pronounce it. Very funny you bring that up. We're working on a series right now called Pronounce It, where we're going to be going around college campuses and with the most we're getting printouts made of the most popular college snacks like Cheez-Its, Oreos, those types of things.
Yeah.
And we're getting the ingredient list printed out and blown up. If a student can successfully pronounce all the words in it, like the ingredient list, they'll get $20. If they can't, we move on to the next student. And it's kind of like a little bit of a, we're trying to create it out, and we're going to film it at the end of this month at the 2 chapters. But the thing that we're trying to push with it isn't the fact that students can't pronounce it. It's the fact that they can't pronounce it and are still eating it, and they don't know what it is. And that's a lot of the time, you have for example, you have allulose, which in the beginning when it came out, it was presented as this alternative to sugar. And the concept that we ever got away from honey and pure organic cane sugar to me is wild, because we already had the 2 most natural forms of sweetener we needed.
What is going on here?
But it's that idea with this Pronounce It series that we're going to do, is just to open students up to the idea of, well, maybe the things you're eating aren't good. And then we relate that into our chapters, where you're going to go be a nurse practitioner. You're going to go be an athletic trainer. Instead of doing what the system, when you go on to your next degree or your graduate program, is going to tell you, go into your graduate program with the idea and mindset of, we already know that naturalistic modalities exist. How can I, as a successful practitioner of medicine, use those skills and that understanding to bond allopathic modalities with naturopathic modalities and kind of bring it together? Where if somebody desperately needs allopathic, you do the allopathic route, right? As a doctor, your job is to just make sure people are healthy, and make sure people are keeping people alive. Yeah. And as to refer back to longevity, why wouldn't we want our doctors also kind of practicing on that idea of longevity, not just put a Band-Aid on it. Let's put a prescription on it, put a Band-Aid on it. Who cares what the side effects? You feel great right now? Great. You feel great. All right, get out of my office,
Yeah, dude, congratulations. I'm just so grateful to be at the forefront with you, with this project, sharing your story with our audience. And it's just It's like feels like we're pioneering a whole new world. And I mean, and just for the record, how old are you?
22. Just turned 22.
This is the next generation, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen out there. I mean, this is amazing. I got to say, congratulations to step up and do what you're doing from this perspective, going from understanding something from the first person perspective because you went through it, to then saying something needs to change. And I think that that is going to happen not just in your industry, but in multiple fields of industries, like even with the corporate industry.
Yeah.
And I believe in a corporate structure, to our sponsor, Liftoff Agents, like the team is at the front. The team, like the doctors are in the front lines. So like you need to understand from their perspective, what's working, what's not working, what's going on. You know, it sounds like because the system has been built from so many years back, you know, it's almost like a dictator type system right now.
It is, yeah.
And it sounds like you're decoding the dictatorship so that way the frontline individuals can actually, like the practitioners, the nurses, the doctors can have the tools that they need to navigate the situation from the perspective that's going to be in the best interest of the patient.
Yeah. I mean, you said it perfectly with the dictatorship stuff. The pharmaceutical companies have complete, total corporate control over our medical institutions of education. A student is mandated to get pharmacology classes when nutrition in some cases isn't even an option, where it's not even required. And,
wow.
You know, thankfully, we have the state of Texas. They've just passed a measure now that is law where the med schools will require 20 hours of nutritional training.
Okay.
Now, I don't think that's enough, but we have to take these victories, these small victories, as a good thing.
Yeah.
And while we can criticize and say, well, it should have been more hours, and what is that nutrition depicted of?
Yeah.
We should have been able, we should take this as this is a step forward. It is mandatory now for students to at least get their toes wet in nutrition instead of being forced through by, okay, next semester, here's what you have as your required classes, pharmacology, surgery, and then what would you like to take as your electives? And it's like nutrition's not an option, but now, thankfully with Texas, all of those students that are going there, and it's part of the reason too why of the chapters that we want to launch, we're very active on multiple campuses there, like Austin, Texas, TCU, Houston area, just some of those schools that were, while we have one chapter only in Texas right now, and this is our first semester of running this program. Yeah. It seems very active there, and the students are very interested in it, which is very good to see, because that was the whole thing with starting this, was kind of, would people be interested in this? And the fact of the matter is, lots of people understand that big pharma controls a lot of our medical institutions, especially within education.
Yep.
And the big side here, or the big win here, is that students understand that and are asking the question of what else is there out there. And that's where we come along and we're like, well, yeah, I mean, we're going to be, who do you want to come to your campus? You want a doctor that's done naturalistic healing for the last 30 years? Set up a chapter. We'll bring them in. You guys get to sit down with them, talk with them for as long as you want, learn as much as you can from them. And then at the end, those students leave this maybe 2-hour chapter meeting, understanding maybe more than they'd even learn in an entire semester, because they're learning from someone who's done it. And that's
I love that. I love that. And that's awesome. Now I want to go a little bit, I want to give contrast here. So from the perspective of quota, when you follow a traditional practice and you go through the process of whether it's a big pharma medication and then say following a vaccine schedule, do you see that there's going to be or what would be your vision for the future from the perspective of do these doctors need to hit some type of quota in order to facilitate the job, if you will? You know what I'm saying? Because I can imagine, when it was during COVID and there was supposed to be vax 1, 2, and 3, and, there's mandatory, mandates, whatever. Do you foresee at some point where maybe, these doctors aren't writing as much scripts, they're not giving as much drugs, and then what's going to happen at that point? Are they going to point the finger at the doctors and be like, okay, you're fired, if this or you're out, you know what I'm saying? Because you're starting this movement. I could imagine something at one point people are going to be.
Yeah, of course, and that's I'll just kind of walk through what our goal or what we're trying to accomplish in this beginning stages is we want to, over the next 4 or 5 years, we want to impact as many pre-med students. Right now we have a scholarship that we offer to pre-med students when they start chapters. And that is kind of like our doorway to them of like, we're here, we've got your back. We're going to help you, you want to learn this stuff. So we're going to help you do it. And we're working actually with Dr. John Robinson, who's up in Scottsdale. He runs Hormone Zone, and which is a private practice that's naturalistic. And he went to school here at Sonoran University, which was a naturalistic health. It was a college that taught naturalistic medicine. And one of the things that we're trying to do with these chapters is if we can start pushing students towards higher education and graduate programs, doctor programs that are put on by those education institutes, we're going to see a decrease in the amount of students going to the traditional pre-med or traditional med school routes. And those universities, the goal at least, logically you'd think, is they would ask, why are students not coming to our program? Why is X university getting so much more attention right now? Why is their amount of applications through the roof where ours are decreasing? And then if they see what's happening is, oh, okay, so students go to this school and they learn naturopathic and allopathic. Maybe that's just the new wave. Maybe students want to learn. And that's kind of like, obviously it's going to take hundreds of students to be able to do this. And
thousands,
thousands of students. And right now we're approaching 50 nationally amongst the 2 chapters we have. And then obviously like our satellite students that are like, we want to give them chapters, or we got to fundraise for them to get chapters and all that kind of stuff. And as we build this up and as we continue the mission, eventually we will almost become a pressure point of our own where we can kind of hold people accountable of, we want professors teaching nutrition. We want the medical schools teaching nutrition, because if we truly want to change this, we have a really cool opportunity right now where we can change healthcare by changing the way it's educated.
Wow, dude, that is actually amazing. And I love talking about a liftoff moment. I love the way that you're approaching it, because you're basically going to be like, okay, you're not going to lead by example. You're not going to do the friendly handshake. So we're going to make you do it in a sense, because if you don't, you're going to, jump on or die. Sorry. Because what you're doing is not working outside the perspective of like trauma care, basically is what you're saying. And then I also like the fact that, looking at that what Charlie did earlier in the show and how he laid the path to go out to these universities and speak to these universities, from his ideologies now to you piggybacking off what he's done, it's already plain as daylight as far as what you could do. And if the next generations are at these universities, you got to go after these universities, got to talk with the children or talk with the up and coming generations to then be able to say, hey, like, here's some additional things to think about. Here's my ideologies. Here's the healthcare. This is what I went through. So when you go to these schools, how do you even approach them to be able to start this whole like catalyst, and then let alone like just a chapter as well? That's for another question. But how do you even kick that off?
Yeah. So our first event we ever did was here in it was a joint event that we helped put together with Rob Schneider, and it was talking about the petroleum food dyes here.
Yeah.
Because one of my good friends who's, been helping me with Vital Choice Project for a while now is Representative Leo Biasucci here in the Arizona House.
Okay.
And he wrote that bill that made it all the way through. And I'll touch on this really quickly. The coolest thing about Leo's bill is it went all the way through all 3 branches of the government here in Arizona completely unanimously.
Wow.
Without any pushback from either side. So this is a really cool idea, because in a time of where unity and stuff is something that we need to be talking about, the idea of health in politics is something both sides agree on, which we haven't had in so long. We haven't had a thing where everyone is, they're all shaking hands down the aisle.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about this petroleum food dye bill here is everyone understood that this bill would improve the lives of children in the public school system.
Yes.
So no one, no matter what their stance was, voted against it. And that's what's so cool about it. And so basically we did an event where we hosted at ALA Academy here in Mesa, and their team is amazing and their school is amazing. And they let us use their gymnasium where we brought in, it was targeted our target demographic for this was parents. So we brought in a bunch of parents, and basically we let them talk with this panel of people that we put together, again, led by Rob Schneider and Leo. And these parents got to understand what it is they need to ask when going to the school board and asking for the change, because they can go implement it now, even though the law says it doesn't have to be implemented until 2027. You can go to your school board and ask them, here's the law. It's been passed now. I know you have until 2027 to enact it and change your school district's food distributor, but we can do it now. And so Lake Havasu School District's already done it. So they'll be having completely no terrible food dyes in their school lunch this year. So huge shout out to Lake Havasu Unified School District. And, that's just one of the cool things about this operation. And to kind of get back to your question of like, how do we interact with these students? These events, we put them on social media and that sort of thing, and students have come to us. That's been the coolest part about it is back when starting this, again, bringing up Cali, I told him about it for about 5 minutes on the phone. And he's like, Garrett, just come over and we'll talk about this. And so he invited me over to his house for dinner, and we went and we sat and talked about the Vital Choice Project and what it could be.
That's amazing.
And his big push to me was, go prove students want this. Go prove that if you do, fundraise on this and set up the system, that students are going to want to be a part of it. Because as running a nonprofit, which is what we are, it's funded completely off of, small donations, large donation, corporate sponsorships, whatever you want to call it. And if we don't have students that we can then use the power of fundraising to help, there's no point in even launching the organization, right? So we had to go out and preliminary find students and talk with kids and just be a part of like the college apparatus again, even though I wasn't a student anymore. Yeah. And we just started having that conversation with kids is, oh, you're going into healthcare. What do you think about this? And if they came back and was like, oh, we'd ask a lot of kids, what do you think of RFK? And they'd be like, if the student came back and was like, I think he's asking some really good questions, that's when we'd push a little bit more of like, oh, well, do you want to ask those questions on your college campus? Because the government isn't going to just tell these universities, which are most of the time, private institutions, to just change their curriculums, right? Like that's another thing here in the United States. Our government can't do that, which is, in my opinion, I think is a good thing because it protects us from them. We can do what we want with our businesses, do what we want with our institutions. And that's one of the really cool parts about this organization is we get to give the students the tools to bring about change and having conversations on their college campus around health. Because, in the United States, we have like the saying of, oh, you're freshman 15, don't gain your freshman 15 when you go off to college. And like, that's just become normal. And as Troy calls it, the freshman 30 now. And because our food supply is so bad. And that's just one of those things it is a problem. And if we have jokes around it, well, then it must be a really big problem. So that's where, I think, you could do this in high schools and you could do this in middle schools. But I really, really firmly believe that the undergraduate students is where this change comes, because they're finally out on their own, away from their parents, living on a college campus where they can start to develop their own opinions and their own ideas, not influenced by an older sibling or a parent. And instead it's influenced by how they live their life in college. And if we can have kids, running, going for runs and going to the gym and monitoring what they're eating and all that kind of stuff, the change will happen. And the other thing too is this changes culture along with it. If we change the culture on college campuses to just naturally be healthier, the shelf life of some of these bad products is going to fall off, and companies are going to lose money and then realize, why is our things not being purchased, or why are our things not being purchased? They're going to realize, oh, maybe it's because there's a carcinogen as the 36th ingredient. Why do we have 36 ingredients in a carcinogen in something? I don't know. Maybe that's why people aren't buying it.
Exactly.
So that's kind of like another pressure point that we have with this is it's really a cultural, educational thing about bringing change, but bringing it in a fun, dynamic way that students want to be a part of and is welcoming to anyone.
So it's just organic. It's just going to happen organic within the system because you're basically putting these events on, then they see it, then they ask questions that lead to actions lead to then the next location. So as you grow what is your vision over the next 12 months as far as college campuses or different chapters you're going to open?
Yeah. So over the next year, my goal by next school year is I want to have between 5 and 10 chapters nationally.
Okay.
And I'd also like to be able to fundraise enough to put someone on salary to be like our national field representative.
Okay.
That goes and actually kind of oversees it, because I mean, I'm working my main job that I work, and then also on the side doing this organization.
Yeah.
And the hard part for me is obviously someday I'd love to be able to break away from what I'm doing and just do the do Vital Choice Project full time, and that's what pays the bills, and that's what I'm out doing because it's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
But while I'm still in this building process, I need to find someone else that can help me full time to continue to put together these chapters and oversee the students, bring in speakers, make sure that they're getting their college kits and stuff. Like we just sent out, we got 100 of these T-shirts.
Congrats.
And we sent out 15 to the 2 chapters to give out at their first chapter meeting. And there's some of our sponsors in it, like Clar, which is a naturalistic energy drink supplement.
Okay.
But it actually has nootropics in it as well, which is very cool. I'm sure you're familiar with some of that stuff, like ashwagandha, lion's manes, things that help with mental clarity.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why we clicked so much when I got on the phone with their founder and CEO, and huge shout out to the team over at Clar, those guys are awesome, is they understand that people will go and do things like Adderall and take Adderall to calm their mental state.
Yeah.
Where there are naturalistic ways to be cooling your mind off, like nootropics and things like that. And that's what makes this energy drink supplement so cool, at least for us to be promoting it to college kids, is here's something that in order for you to get the best use out of it, it's an electrolyte at the forefront. So you got to go work out and to be able to digest it better and actually get the full effects, because it's supposed to replenish you after hard work. But on top of it, then when you sit down to study and do all that, it'll give you the mental clarity. So that's why, it's such a cool product. I haven't found many other things like it. I mean, like we have NeuroGum is a big one.
Yeah.
And that's another great product that's able to kind of, be promoted to college kids to kind of soothe their mind, mental clarity, without doing the craziness of, I need to go see my doctor and get an ADHD prescription because, man, I just can't focus with all these classes. So, that's a really cool one that we've done. We've got some apricot seeds from RNC Center, which is the Richardson Nutritional Center. And apricot seeds are very cool. Definitely suggest looking into them. The links with them and slowing the developments of cancer and sometimes even curing it is very cool. And it's another one of those modalities of healing that kind of was pushed to the side.
Yeah.
Because you can't heal a disease like that from a seed. Well, you can. In some cases, it's very prominent. You can. Yeah. So it's cool to see all these other organizations stuff wanting to promote their products and stuff to kids, because we're never going to say no if their mission is to just make people healthy.
Yeah, and if it's not a drug and it's natural.
Yeah.
And then also I like the experience factor. So like, cool, you're going to drink this drink and it's going to give you these side effects. And if then you work out, then you can actually have even heightened side effects after the workout. Not to mention, I mean, and that's a great company, but also, just from the perspective of Wim Hof breathing, Michael talks about that, meditation, which is good as well, getting your feet on the ground, which Mike talks about as well, getting some sun. Yep, exactly, right? Going to the gym and then getting your cardiovascular, as your cardiovascular raises and then you get done, you feel naturally high, you feel absolutely amazing, which is huge as well. But I do want to say that, links for Garrett and his organization will be down below. I do want to make sure, and did you try that yet? You might want to stir it up a little bit too, because
it's good.
All right, cool. Shout out Red Zen Tea. My wife hooked him up with some of the pumpkin matcha, which is seasonal. And so we are coming now. September, October's around the corner. And then before you know it, Thanksgiving and then Christmas and New Year's. So, but I really like the idea of our viewers and listeners backing your project and behind the project, donating to the project as well. And what does it look like from the perspective of going full time? So not that it matters. What are you doing currently right now for work?
I'm a consultant for Maha Action. Okay. So I track legislation that is around making people healthy, basically.
So it's in alignment.
Yeah. It's definitely in alignment. Sometimes I'm worried maybe that it's a conflict of interest, just because it's similar organizations, right? Like they might want to do things with college kids and stuff like that, but I don't think it is, but sometimes like that's just where my mind goes. It's like, I don't want to step on people's toes at the same time of also the people that are allowing me to keep a roof overhead and things like that. But also I want to continue pushing the mission that I'm so passionate about and things like that. So like, yeah, full time, definitely want to do it someday. When that day is up to, it's God's time for when that happens. And
I love that.
I think I do believe that eventually Vital Choice Project will become something much bigger than what even me and Ashton, who's my co-founder, think it's going to be. And, it's cool to see it at this stage already doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
Because the idea started on a FaceTime call. And what's really cool about it as well is I actually pitched it to my couple of the higher ups at Turning Point, two of like I would consider the mentors is Stefan and Brett. And they listened to me when I had this idea of looking through data about where people align when they have chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
And, they kind of just like let me play around with it and see where it went. And then I got to pitch it to them. And obviously it didn't end up becoming any part of like Turning Point or anything, which is completely fine, right? Like now I get to do it myself and all that kind of stuff. But it did allow me to eventually, talk to Callie Means about it, which then led to me talking to Leo Biasucci about it, which led to me talking to RFK about it, even when he was here very briefly. But I still consider I got to talk to him about it and give a picture and all that kind of stuff with him. And it's very cool because a lot of the influence, like I said earlier, is that's where I want to make change is in this health space, because I did it and I was not this like, I'm still not in the shape that I want to be and where I want to be health wise. But it's a process, and that's why it comes about self-discipline. And another aspect of these chapters is why it's so important is camaraderie, because healing naturally and taking the time to do it is so difficult when you don't have anyone else to do it with.
Yes.
So
process.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a mind hurdle to like continue to do it when no one else around you is. So yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, shout out to my wife, because if it wasn't for her, I was already conscious before, and then my wife and I doing it together, it was kind of like, it was just like, all right, lift off moment, because it was double the amount of just awareness and just being mindful of what we're doing. I want to go a little bit deeper as far as monetizing. How do you monetize this? Because I like to go a little bit deeper from the perspective, because yes, in God's time. And what does it look like to monetize? So then we can even think like, hey, someone wants to donate out there, fantastic. Or if you're going to get to a certain point of, say, schools across the nation, at what point, at how many schools does it specifically seems to be like where you could go full time with it? So like, how do you monetize this?
Yeah. So right now, the way we've monetized is simply through private donations or corporate sponsorships.
Got it.
We got the opportunity, amazing opportunity. I still can't believe it happened. Was we got Mike Tyson to come out and
I saw that
on behalf of the organization, and huge shout out to his son Miguel. I've gotten to build kind of a little friendship with Mike's son, who's also very passionate about this stuff, and he does a lot of really cool work with his charity, the Tyson Foundation.
Yeah,
and there's talk between me and Miguel potentially doing something together that I really hope comes to fruition. But we got to bring Mike Tyson out to do an event with us, and he agreed to sign 2 gloves that we got to auction off.
Wow.
And this was kind of like our miracle moment, is where we're like, okay, we thought maybe we'd fundraise like 5,000 or something like that at this event. And we ended up auctioning off both of those gloves for 10,000 each.
Wow. Let's go.
It was very cool.
I give one of these.
Yeah. And I still barely believe it, because it was like one of the most surreal moments is we just finished up the final panel of the evening. It was about a 3-hour-long event, and started off with, so one of the other cool things too is Taher Inc. and Sean over there, they were able to fly in some of the students we were working up, setting up chapters with, to this fundraiser here in Scottsdale.
Wow.
This was back in July, and we set up, when I finally got it squared away that we could send college kids and actually like show people we were building and we were doing this already. We put together, in kind of last minute almost, we put together this panel of 4 doctors that are naturalistic practitioners.
Yeah.
And we basically let the students lead the panel. So the students got to ask each of these doctors a question, and then the doctors went down the line of, well, here's what it's like in this practice that's different from allopathic, and, just interact with the students. And it was what we were able to do with it was put on display what we want to do on college campuses. But instead of 3 students that we were fortunate enough to get out into the room from Connecticut, Florida, and Texas, those 3 students, we want to multiply that on college campuses where we bring in this doctor, and a school might have 1,000 students in the healthcare industry or healthcare education fields, and they now get to go and ask the question as a collective body.
Yeah.
And so this fundraiser, we got to put it together, and we had just wrapped up the panel with Mike and Troy, who we talked about earlier, and then we also had Tito Ortiz on it, who is UFC legend, and huge shout out to Tito for coming out for us, and I look forward to doing more stuff with him in the future. He's speaking at a biohacking summit down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida next month. So if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, go hang out, learn some naturalistic healing, and you never know who you're going to run into. I think they just added Gary Brecka to it as well, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
In the biohacking world.
Yeah.
But basically, Mike signs these gloves. I made the announcement of like, we're going to live auction these off. And this is where we're going to fund the chapters, because we wanted to be able to give the scholarships out.
Yeah.
And we wanted to be able to give, like, we want each chapter meeting, whether they have a speaker or not, we want to make sure that they have a healthy meal, because the college campuses don't tend to have a lot of healthy options. So if we can, one of them is down in Austin, so there's lots of healthy places to eat, and the other one's in Davidson, North Carolina. Also lots of healthy places to eat. So we have the funds now to give those students, like, here's a $300 stipend, go take care of whatever you need to do your chapter meeting. And then we'll get it taken care of on our end. And my mom is doing our treasury work for us, because I could have never, I don't know how all of that works. So I'm super thankful that my mom's able to take time and, just track the finances and stuff for us. 'Cause accountants are expensive and all that kind of stuff. But we basically, like, our goal, and I tell the students this all the time, we have a national chat that when they join the chapters or want to get involved, students get filtered into this national chat. And we talk with them and send links to them and send different like things for them to take part in. For example, we got access to the Maha Info Hub, which is like an update weekly that the HHS people come on to Maha Action's Zoom meeting that's like broadcasted out, similar to a podcast of like what we're doing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of for like your grassroots people to hear and see what kind of health policies and information is being talked about in the government, because a lot of the time we don't hear that, which is really cool. So we got the access to the students to join that, and a lot of the students came back and told us it was cool, a lot of fun. This week's obviously was a little bit different because it took place maybe 3 hours after Charlie.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, a little bit hard for some of the students, especially because a lot of the students that are interested in these talking points and in this Maha universe, or this health conscious universe, tend to also be supporters of him. And so we had a couple students reach out and talk to us about it. And, I think some of the students knew that I had worked there at a point in time. And so that was, it was cool to get to kind of comfort students in that situation. But it's also cool that we get to talk with them and put these things out of like, here's what you guys do what you want to do. Like, I tell them all the time, they're like, we'll submit, they'll send like text to me and they're like, we'll submit this to approval for you when we're done thinking of talking points and all this. I'm like, I want you guys to go do what you want to do with these chapters, as long as it is talking about and progressing natural health and healing our country naturally.
Yeah.
I don't care what they're talking about, because I don't want there to be any sort of censorship at all from us, because then that makes us a dictatorship, just like we're trying to fight pharmaceutical companies, which is the dictatorship.
Well, you get a hard time because everything in college is a standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
And so you're taking standard operating procedures and you're trying to give them freedom of speech, if you will. And so you're not a dictator, but then they want the structure and organization. So I could see where, even if you don't want to be a dictator, you could have some type of SOPs around maybe the categories.
Yeah, and we do have
matter.
Yeah, we have categories for them to do, like with their speakers, meals, what topics they want to just, if they want to make presentations and do, like, for example, this last time we kind of I told them, let's have the first chapter meetings be more of like a introduction, come hang out, meet friends, camaraderie. And the two girls that are the leaders at the Texas State chapter came back and was like, what about something like root beer floats and like a talking session and people just come hang out and have free root beer floats? And we were like, all right, let's do that. And the cool thing is we're doing like poppy soda, which is a natural soda, and then ice cream for bears, which is like, I think it's 5 ingredients. It's naturally sweetened with honey, uses real cream, and that sort of stuff. And these students now will be able to, their first chapter meeting might be come hang out, talk, learn about the organization, but instead of it just being a boring thing of, this is the Vital Choice Project, we talk about medical freedom. Instead of that, or nutrition, or whatever they want to talk about. Yeah. Instead, now it's, this root beer float tastes a little bit different, but it's still really good. What's in it? And then they can talk about. There's only 5 ingredients in the ice cream you just used. This is the kind of stuff we're talking about, where you don't have to. It doesn't have to be this scary thing of, does this mean that I have to shop Simply Organic the rest of my life? And only no, it's like there are products on the market that you can have, and if we push those products to the forefront, the other products will change. That changes the whole economy around what it is to eat food. So
I love that.
That was the idea that the girls gave us down in Texas, and I pitched it then to the leadership at our Davidson chapter. They loved it as well, so that's what we're doing at both schools. It's going to be called Floats and First Steps as their their introductory meetings, and I love that. Yeah, so the first one will be September 24th at Texas State, and then September 26th at Davidson. And, we give like the students these outlines and stuff. Like you said, we don't want it to be completely unstructured, and students want structure. But we give them like outlines and ideas and stuff. And then but the idea for us on our end is whatever they come back to us with is what we want to give them. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. Can I give you, maybe like, some things to kind of, so what I do is, on the Lift Off Agent side, I'm a consultant. Yeah. I consult business owners all the time. They're small business owners or real estate professionals, but I geek out on this. Can I maybe give you some strategy? Of course, yeah. All right. I'm brand new to this stuff too. So, I'm open to learning whenever I can. Because I asked you earlier about how you monetize this. And one thing that came up for me is that you can turn this into, and you can add to this as I collect my thoughts and I get it all out there, a network. Okay, so imagine you're starting off with all these different chapters. Okay, these individuals are younger individuals that are going to eventually be practitioners and doctors in the future. So if you think about that, they need resources, right? Yeah. So the resources could be some of the individuals that you bring on to speak, the doctors, like certified health nut who you wanted to have come in and to speak, but doesn't want to travel because the plane TSA thing, whole other story. So I can imagine, like, if you're going to open up a new chapter, if you can then search 10, 15 mile or 20 mile radius around that specific university, what in that specific community locally is there available? So potentially having a network of available practitioners or holistic type practitioners, where then potentially you could actually have a reoccurring donation model where once you go into that school and you have that say chapter built, their goal is also not to just come up with these events, but scour the actual local community network to find individuals that want to be a part of the actual event itself, to also see if they potentially want to buy into the network to be on a reoccurring model. So when they go from being in college to then actually being physicians, that donation from that, say, could be a wellness center, it could be whatever it is, they could be a resource within the network, but then you're getting those donations. And it could be as simple as like, $25, $50 donation that puts you into the network that you guys have. So then that way, if when they are doctors, there's a network of information that they can find to be able to automatically pull out whatever they need for the patient in whatever area. Yeah, I love that. I didn't even think of that. Like, we thought of the local networks as in for activities. Like, for example, the Texas State chapter close to the city of Austin, there's the natural springs there. Yeah. So like we can send students to do that as like one of their chapter activities, or even a meeting. They go to the springs or something like that. Yeah. But I had never thought of it as like the provider of of things.
Because
And
it can help them get out there. It can help them being able to work on personal development. It can help them with the opportunity of reaching out to a business owner or practitioner or like say an Optimize that's locally in their area because Michael wants to be a part of the event that you're doing. Now, Optimize in this market maybe pays you guys, say, depending on if they want to have local or international exposure, there's different tiers. So they're going to donate $25, $50, or $100 for the exposure of your network. Because when you think about healthcare, there's networks. Yeah. So you need to have healthcare network type systems within your type of field. So that way you can be internationally or nationally to start. And then they can then go in as doctors, get into your network, see what is available. That network is your donation. Yeah. And they are also going to be front in line, depending on their donation amount, to be able to be on the stage, to get in front of the campus, to talk about what they're doing because they want to earn potential business or have individuals come to their facilities or what they have to offer. Yeah. So now you're connecting a network where then this can grow to something even bigger. And then it gives you guaranteed. So what I'm saying, like, and maybe this is God speaking through me to help you go full time sooner. I have no idea. Yeah. All I know is I could feel this and it feels good to say, if you could develop a network and you had reoccurring model with money coming in, you could be full time within 12 months as you grow your networks. And then you have your chapters go out to the community and find these individuals that want to reoccurringly be a part of the events that are lined out for 12 months. Yeah. And then buying into the network and then donating on a monthly basis. Yeah.
Like if say there's an organization that, sells, let's just say like there's a version of here in, let's say Optimize, for example. Yes. You have GCU and ASU, and those are two schools that we have talked to students in, but we don't have enough to launch chapters, not enough students there yet to launch chapters. Okay. So but for example, their chapter meeting, each chapter meeting, people can come table at it. That person could be a representative that just speaks to the student body. Yeah. That can be just open eyes to this. The chapters can become potential customers to other people. Yeah. And they bounce off each other, and it still advances the mission because it's introducing people to outside of the traditional modalities of healing options without, it becoming excruciatingly expensive for a college kid because it's part of the system.
Exactly. Well, so then you have Optimize a part of the network, and then Michael or his partner are the keynotes at this next event. And then you have a college, and it could be a smaller university because it'd be a little easier than the bigger ones. And I can imagine even over time, universities can also buy into the network as well. And then if the university buys into the network, because this is the next big thing, now you have the university donating, you have the Optimizes donating, or the whatever it is, the natural path. I don't want to say it's not Whole Foods. It's not, it's those small little shops you see in the shopping center that have all the natural stuff. Yeah. Something like that. I can just imagine how this could grow into a bigger network. Yeah. And everything is just going to cohesively support one another.
Yeah, that's super. I'm actually super glad that we talked about this because I didn't even think of that. Like that's a super cool idea and definitely something that we're going to look into. And I'd love to talk even more about it. Like,
hey, I'm a consultant and I'm here to serve, bro.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, no worries.
On the topic of like just fundraising and things of that nature, the other big thing that we're trying to, put together is this monthly grassroots donor support of people donating between $1 and $5 a month. Nice. And eventually, say you get 10,000 people doing that. Yeah. Well, that's enough for a small organization like this to operate with employees even at that point. I mean, that's $120,000 a year where you can use that we would be able to fund all the chapters very easily with that, be able to find our national rep, and, we can start doing more social media things because I didn't realize also just how expensive like content creation is. Like it's, I've been learning, like I've been doing video editing stuff since I was little, but been trying to get back into like Final Cut and Adobe, the Adobe apps and stuff, just to all the graphics. And just for reference, all of the videos, graphics, and like website, I've done it all myself because I didn't want to pay for someone to do it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize how expensive that stuff was.
It's done right, it's expensive, and that's what we do. Our sponsor does. So we do like the logo, the website, the lead pages, and we do hyper local focused real estate websites. So then, if like I go from California to here, I found some guy on YouTube. And he showed me the area. And that wasn't even an agent. And so now we specialize in agents. And so we have our team that goes out and like what Jen's doing as well on the sales and marketing side, goes out and finds these individuals. So yesterday we had one of the best events we've ever done. It was just a 4-hour honoring 9/11. And it was an expo with We Serve, local association with 28,000 members. And we booked 28 appointments in 4 hours. I'm booked out for the whole month.
Wow.
Just with this organization. And our sites are $2,500 to $5,000. And so it gets really expensive with our maps, our guides, what have you. So anyone out there that has skills with video editing or website development or what have you, reach out to Garrett. Make sure all the links are down below because I want this to be a catalyst. Let's have a lift off right now. A catalyst where this can be a show that can really maybe get you to connect with either donations, connect with people, skilled individuals that want to donate their time. Because I can even imagine, getting your story out there from the perspective of YouTube. And even if it was just the general public that wanted to donate $1 or $2 a day, because like one thing for my wife, you go to who out there goes to a store and it's like, oh, do you want to donate for this? You don't want to donate for that. And it's like you're going to Walmart, and nothing against Walmart, but you're like, my wife's always like, I don't know if this money's really going to the cause or not.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you want to donate to a cause that it's really going to a cause, you're looking at the man right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like shout out, like real talk.
Thank you for that.
And of course, because I feel that you only need, 10,000 people across the country where then, you have how many people currently right now, because it could be a trifecta. You could have the college campus and the kids that are going to go and have the chapters that go out that find the holistic practices that could be sponsors. Then you have the opportunity for donations and events that you're doing. And then you also have the general public. And if someone is out there and you're out there right now, or of someone that's going through colitis or going through some type of illness, and you are here to be the catalyst to help with that change, and you change someone's life from taking medication for the rest of their life, what's $1 a month or $1 a week, or $5 a month? It's this big in the bigger scheme of things. And I think that you're onto something that is going to be absolutely huge. And I got to say, the way you hold yourself and your candor, like when we first got started, you were speaking as it was already. Yeah. I could tell that about you, man. Like your passion and the way that you approach this, it's like, dude, it's like you're way beyond your years, bro.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah. I don't like to talk myself up, if that makes sense.
I got you.
And like something too is like this organization, the Vital Choice Project, this is going to sound weird, but I hope it dies someday. And by that meaning, and Ash and I are on full agreement of this, is we hope that someday we've completed the mission of it enough where we don't have to exist anymore, and students are just naturally learning naturalistic healthcare, and the dictatorship has fallen in a way, right? Like
I love that.
The pharmaceutical companies aren't this massive.
I love this
overview of it, and it's our overseer of our health education, and that students are just, now I tell that to people and they say, oh, Garrett, you're in for a lifetime fight. This isn't gonna, go that quickly. But it's like, well, we've already, two college age kids, me and Ashton, have already somehow managed to sit on stage and talk about our project with Mike Tyson, and launch 2 chapters already this fall, where we still have no idea like what we're doing. We're learning as we go. Yeah. But it's like we're both very passionate about this, and someday too, like you'll have to get Ashton on this. He's back in Wisconsin, but he's got a very cool story. He has a very inspiring story because he's been dealing with it way longer than I have. His diabetes was type 1. Okay. And his angle and approach of things is a lot more on the physical nature of this stuff, because he's, a lot of people will get diabetes and just fall into the pit of the diabetic life system, where they fall out of shape and they don't eat good and they rely just strictly on insulin. And what's really cool about Ashton is I joke around with him. I'm like, oh, you're a walking muscle. Cause like he's that's what he's into, but it's helped him immensely. Wow. And that side of things, like he and I both understand what it's like to have to deal with a chronic illness.
Mm-hmm.
So our big mission is just how can we decrease the amount of people that get them?
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is just if doctors are out there preventing, and you can't you can't prevent through allopathic, because allopathic is a reactive.
Not proactive.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's a reaction of a sickness or an injury.
Yep.
And naturalistic medicine is proactive because it's setting the stage for you to heal without having to go to a doctor, or it's a ability to just stay naturally healthy. And you know, Dr. Joel, who's been working with us, one of his most recent things that I saw on his Instagram that he posted out, and he's got, I think, like 340,000 followers on Instagram. So he's been a really good voice for us. But he put out a thing that said, "My healthcare is my shopping cart." And I think that's a really cool saying, because
So cool.
it's true. Like, I've met so many people in like just networking this idea and this project out that are like, "Oh, I haven't been to the doctor in 20 years." And then you ask them, "Oh, how'd you do that?" They say, "I don't eat garbage." You know, like it's a real thing that really works.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so passionate about this project. That's why I'm so passionate about the change that we can make. And I really do firmly believe that we will be able to step back from this project someday and actually see change.
Dude, I love that. And round 2 with his partner.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching today's episode of the Liftoff Experience, as it is our intention to be able to help you have more liftoff in your life, personally, professionally, and spiritually. That's why we bring on amazing individuals and amazing episodes to be able to help you do as such. New episodes come out every single Saturday. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment below with one thing that you took away from the episode. And if you have a compelling story that you wish to share and you want to come to Phoenix, Arizona, Gilbert, Arizona specifically, to our recording studio, we'd love to have you on an episode. And a big thank you to Liftoff Agent, who does the thumbnail, writes the copy, does all the content for our show behind the scenes, as all I do is find guests, point and shoot, and have a good time. So thanks so much to Liftoff Agent team. Thank you so much for staying to the end of the episode, and just do us a favor and like, subscribe, give us your feedback so we can get this out to more individuals. And of course, you can share this with someone else that you think that should see it, because at the end of the day, we all have to help each other and serve each other to have more liftoff. And now, our YouTube channel, you can go ahead and see all of our other videos. If you're listening to this, just go to the Liftoff Experience on YouTube. And if you're watching this, then you can see on the screen that we have lots of episodes that you can take a look at and you can watch today to be able to go deeper with different subject matters to help you have more liftoff in your life. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. God bless. We'll see you all on the next one.